Fascism doesn't rise through facts. It rises through fear. And right now there is a coordinated campaign to radicalize young men by lying to them.
We had a vaccination schedule back in the 1990s that involved 7 shots for kids. Now, by the time that a baby is 6 months old, there's a 72 shot schedule.
Charlie Kirk is not a truth teller. He's a professional manipulator. And him and his organization, Turning Point USA, which is backed by billionaires, they are spending millions and millions of dollars touring college campuses to radicalize the next generation of voters. And they are radicalizing them with a cocktail of grievances, disinformation, and fear. Now, I get asked all the time, what can we do about this? How can we fight back? And today, I want to introduce you to just a regular person who got tired of the bullshit. And she stepped up to help stop this disinformation campaign. Her name is Z. Cohen Sanchez. She's the executive director of National Ground Game and the leader of the Unfuck America tour. I love it. It is a nationwide effort to meet the disinformation machine head on. And they are meeting Charlie Kirk at these college campuses and they are debating him in public with professional debaters. Debaters such as Dean Withers and Parker Get a Job. Z, welcome. Let's talk about how we unfuck America. So why don't you take us back to the moment that you realized that this tour was needed? What made you say enough is enough?
Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I'm beyond honored to be here. But yeah, no, listen, it was a bit of a process. So at first, it really, like, the main trigger for me, at least, was when Charlie Kirk said that abortion was worse than the Holocaust. I think, like, for me, that was I was like, okay, we're at the point now where we're just saying things that are not even sort of on the pathway to truth. Like, we're just completely going in a completely different direction. And so one of the first things I did was I actually reached out to the schools because I was like, listen, I mean, I'm sure that there's a reason why Democrats aren't there, right? He probably books up the whole campus or something to stop that from happening. But the schools were like, no, nobody's ever reached out to us. So if you want to be there, you can be there. And so that's what sort of triggered this whole idea of, okay, well, if it's not something that is just because he books up the whole school and we can't be there, and if we can be there, then we absolutely should be there. And so that's what really started everything.
Charlie Kirk, he's not just talking to conservatives. He is actively recruiting young people into fascism. So how are they winning over young people?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think before we even talk about Charlie himself, we have to really talk about Turning Point USA. And for listeners who don't really know much about Charlie Kirk and how he started and Turning Point USA and the work that they do, highly encourage you to look it up. But just to sort of give you a brief overview, Turning Point USA started when Charlie Kirk was a senior in high school, so when he was 18. And essentially what happened was this very wealthy donor, I believe he was from Nebraska, saw Charlie speak at some event in high school and said, this is the kid. This is the one I want. Wild to think about, looking at Charlie Kirk and thinking that he's the one, but this guy had deeper plans. And so he essentially took Charlie out of high school and essentially molded him right into this right-wing talking head. And so they started Turning Point USA together, which then Charlie Kirk, this guy has been gone for at least 10 years now. So Charlie is now the executive director, owns the PAC. But he didn't just start with nothing. I mean, when I say big donor, I mean, this guy had a lot of money. I mean, millions and millions of dollars that he invested into this PAC. So Charlie already had a lot of these connections straight out the gate that he didn't really have to work for, which is ironic given that he's the go get a job guy, right? But Charlie really has never really had a job. I mean, this was kind of handed to him, right out of high school, and this is all he's done ever since. And so this happened 15 years ago. So ever since then, Turning Point has increased their donors. They've increased their reach, and Turning Point is now all over the country. I mean, just in Florida during the special elections, they were registering voters. They registered about 1,500 voters or so during the Florida specials. But that just shows you, like, they are literally in all these districts doing the work all the time. And so not only are they doing the college campus tour, but they're also doing the electoral organizing piece as well. And so that's what makes them so dangerous, is that this isn't just like online rhetoric that they're pushing, like, disinformation that they're pushing, but they're also taking it to the electoral organizing space to actually register voters, get people out to vote in these critical elections.
Well, it's funny too, because Charlie Kirk says that privilege doesn't exist. And he's literally the poster boy of privilege.
Yeah, it is. It's truly ironic to get pulled out of, basically, like, I don't know how else you could just be given something, like, literally on a silver platter, right? Charlie's done that, but then he's used this to push completely the opposite narrative. So, the Democratic Party, like, we've known Turning Point USA has been doing this for a long time, and we've never tried to combat it with anything of any type of substance. And so, that's really what National Ground Game is doing, is that we're saying, enough is enough. And yeah, we're going to have to do it scrappy, because Charlie Kirk spent $40 million just on college campuses in 2023. That's an off-year election cycle, right? So we don't even know what he spent last year, because we haven't gotten the reports back yet. But what we do know is that they raised about $100 million last year. And so we know that a big portion of that money went to their college campus tours and then went to their other electoral organizing work. So we don't have that, obviously, straight out the bat, but we're going to have to build that if we want to combat Turning Point USA.
So you said that 2025 isn't a pause year, it's a launch pad. What do you want this movement to accomplish by 2026 or 2028? What's your long-term vision?
Yeah, the long-term vision is that we need to build electoral power, because we need to obviously take back the presidency in 28. But we have a lot more to do before we get there, right? And a big piece of that is that if we look at the numbers between Kamala Harris and Trump in the past election, do we need to change some MAGA voters' minds? Sure. That's, that has to be part of the electoral organizing work that we do. But that doesn't mean that we need to do that in order to win future elections. We also have a large portion of the electorate that are either disengaged and just not voting at all, or maybe voting very infrequently. And also, we have a bunch of people that are not registered to vote in critical states. So what our goal is that we are taking these events, these college, campus tours, and we want to get people registered to vote. That is the plan. And so we're hoping that we can get millions of people registered to vote in these critical states. Because after this April 22nd event, Charlie will go to Wyoming on April 24th, and then he'll do what all the Republicans do in the summer. He'll go to Cancun and kick it up on the beach until the kids come back to school in September, right? And we don't want to do that. We want to continue our tour while Charlie's in Cancun or doing what he's doing. We want to be out everywhere that we can, doing rallies with influencers and really trying to bridge this online space with the electoral organizing work that needs to happen.
You said that, your point is to target voters that aren't really involved. And that's one of the reasons that motivated me to start speaking out. And it's kind of one of my messages on MeidasTouch is you don't have to wave a giant American flag behind a lifted pickup truck to love your country and to be patriotic, because this is our country too. And we set the direction that we want to go. It's not guys like Charlie Kirk that are doing that. It is regular people that are watching this interview right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There was a moment there, during Kamala Harris's run for presidency, that we started to bring back that patriotism, right? Where Democrats were flying American flags again. And that's really important that we have that, because why should MAGA corrupt the American? the American flag is not MAGA's. Like, that's not, they're like completely antithetical to this entire country and our Constitution and everything that we believe in. So we need to recapture patriotism and what that means. And, if we can get to these, especially young college white boys, and we can start to sort of rebrand ourselves, because that's a big part of this too, is like, we can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. And losing. Like, we're going to have to rebrand if we want to stay relevant.
So let's talk to the folks that are watching this who are feeling angry, but they're not sure what to do. What is your message to them?
So there's a lot to do right now. I mean, there's obviously, we want you to help us. We're doing a lot of work, but we're not the only ones. I mean, there's right now, when we're in a constitutional crisis, which is what we're in, we need to be doing everything. There should be no criticism about anything that is happening right now, because we need to be doing all types of work to be able to lay the pressure on as thick as we need to be able to continue to win elections, or to even have elections, to be perfectly frank. So we, protesting, good. Electoral organizing work, good. Doing the work online, good. Like, all of the things that we can do combined is what needs to happen in order to fight back against this insane MAGA 2.0, which could take away democracy. So if you want to help us, there are a lot of things that you can do. Right now, we have a postcarding campaign where we're sending postcards to unregistered voters in the state of Pennsylvania, encouraging them to vote. We will also have phone banking for that project, which we're going to start probably in the first week of May after this event is over. So you can sign up for that on the National Ground Game website. Also, you can get involved with this tour by you can show up to campus if you want. It is a public university. You don't need to buy a ticket. So showing up and showing your support helps us a lot. Or you can donate to the Unfuck America tour at our website and help us to continue this tour. Also, if you are in a state that needs critical help, please reach out to us, get us connected to the right people in those states, so that when we start our voter registration drives, that, having extra hands on that know who we are and that we're building relationships with early really helps us. So all of those things. And if none of those things fit in a category in which you can do, you can always send us a message, send us an email, send me a DM on TikTok, and we can point you in the right direction.
If you could choose one dangerous thing that Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk is pushing right now, what would that be?
I think in terms of like immediate danger, I would say the vaccinations, right? Like, I mean, there's so many things that are wildly dangerous that Charlie Kirk and Turning Point are pushing, but the vaccinations are obviously particularly dangerous. There's an immediate effect, right, of vaccines. We've already seen things popping up like, measles coming back and things like that. We've seen children die recently of these diseases that have been eradicated. And so that, I would say, is the most immediate danger. I mean, Charlie Kirk literally said just last week that children from birth to 6 months have to go through a 72 shot schedule, which is insane. Like that is just, it's so far from the truth. I mean, I called to provide, I actually just had a baby last year. So I've seen her go through the vaccines, and she's only had, 5-6 vaccinations, right? Like in the entire time. And she just turned 1 year old. So I already knew this information, but on my TikTok, I called a provider and asked, and they said it's under 10, so spreading false information like that. He also said that Jamie Foxx was completely paralyzed from the COVID vaccination and had completely paralyzed and became blind from the COVID vaccination, which is just completely, if you look it up on Polyfact, it's just completely false, right? And so when we're spreading misinformation like that, along with getting rid of the World Health Organization, yeah, that's gonna fuck us up, really, really quick.
I appreciate what you're doing, because I feel like for a while now, a decade or more, we have gotten in this mind frame that somebody else is going to save us.
Yeah.
And it's not. Like that's not nobody's coming. It is going to be us that is saving this country.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I say this all the time because I get comments and comments and comments from people on almost all of my videos that say like, where's the Democratic Party? Where's the DNC? And I'm like, you're looking at it. Like, what is the real question? Are you asking like, where is leadership? Like, where is specifically Ken Martin or specifically David Hogg? That's another question. But when you say like, where is the Democratic Party? You are it, right? So, a lot of these people don't understand that, as you get into more rural places, like my community, for example, we don't even have a Democratic Party. Like we have like one person that's volunteer for our entire county, right? So it's like, we need to start to say that we can't just say like, we're mad at the Democratic Party anymore, unless we're willing to take responsibility for ourselves, right? It's one thing that if you're mad at the end of this year, right, after we have begged the Democratic Party to do something, after you've shown up for everything, then okay, we can have like a further conversation about that. But at least for now, we have to at least put the work in before we can say that, oh, this is just the fault of the DNC. Like, to me, that's just like a lazy cop-out.
Well, I love what you're doing. Thank you for coming on the MeidasTouch Network. It is an absolute honor to interview somebody that loves her country, a true patriot that is stepping up to do something and to save democracy. So thank you, Z.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. I really appreciate it.
If you're interested in getting more involved to save democracy, feel free to contact Z. I put all of her links in the description below. Until next time.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.